then I'm going to take the risk. I know there is risk with this, but I'm chasing upside here.
Welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Freaks. I'm Jason. Vaz is here as well, and we're here to talk about 10 players that you need to buy right now. And Vaz, when I say right now, I mean, sure, we've got time until the season starts, but the sooner the better because there are different timelines throughout the season. We're at the time before the NFL draft. Things can change all the time. I think the value for these guys are there now, so we want to buy these guys as soon as we can. We'll talk about, how much you might have to pay for each as well. But Vaz, let's get right into this. Who is the first guy that you want to buy right now?
Okay, number one on my list. This is going to surprise some, but it's Justin Fields.
Okay,
Now,
Justin Fields, who
yeah.
just got traded to Pittsburgh. Why?
So he's clearly at an all-time low in terms of value. Okay. And I think the dip has settled for now. I think he's not going to continue to fall. We know his landing spot. It's Pittsburgh. He's going to be the quarterback 2 there behind Russell Wilson. Okay. But why am I buying? It's that I think if I look at his value on Keep Trade Cut at the moment, it's around a mid-second. Okay. Now, I see a mid-second in this draft as a tier break where these guys start to become questionable and the hit rate is not as secure. So if I can take this mid-second and turn it into Justin Fields, who we know has the upside to be a league winner, to be a QB1, okay? Then I'm going to take the risk. I know there is risk with this, but I'm chasing upside here, okay? We know that if next year Justin Fields becomes a starter, his stock will shoot up because of the rushing upside. I'm willing to throw away a mid-second to chase the upside that is Justin Fields.
Sure. Certainly there are second round picks mid to late that can turn out to be nothing, right, when you're drafting. So taking a commodity that can be good, certainly can be worth it. I guess the big question is, what if Justin Fields does not start in 2025? At that point, you've got to think you have to cut bait, right?
Well, I imagine if let's say he doesn't start this year at all. Let's say Russell
No, I'm
Wilson
talking
plays
the year
great.
after, going into the
I know.
next year.
Right. So I think it's very possible that if he doesn't start this year, then he would not get a starting job next year. NFL teams probably won't want to give him a contract to be the starting quarterback in 2025.
So you're saying that
Okay?
you believe that he will start at some point in the upcoming season?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's possible. I think it is very possible because I think Pittsburgh is a tough place for quarterbacks right now. Okay, without the weapons, with a poor offensive line. So I think it's very possible he does get a chance. Russell Wilson doesn't get injured. So it would probably have to be because Russell Wilson does not play well. So it's possible. I'm not sure. I have no idea. Okay. But what I'm saying basically is I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit.
Sure,
okay?
sure. Gotcha. All right. Well, certainly a good choice there. My first choice is going to be the exact opposite of that. I am saying buy on Russell Wilson right now. And I think similar to what you're saying is that it's because of the cost. His value is so low right now because of the last 2-3 seasons where he hasn't been the Russell Wilson of old. Now, I think that his value can go back up because in the media, he's seen as a bad quarterback and he hasn't been a winning quarterback. However, he actually didn't have a bad fantasy season last year. So I think his fantasy value is still there as long as he can remain a starter. Now, in regards to that, I just believe that he understands that he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Now, he's playing for his career this upcoming season. I think he understands that this is his last chance. If he doesn't perform in Pittsburgh, he is not going to be a starting quarterback anymore. He's either going to be a backup, or I think he might even just retire if he doesn't get the opportunity that he wants, because he does seem to be a guy that has a lot of pride. So I think based on situation, can he become the guy that he needs to be? The key that I see also is Arthur Smith being his offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, I don't think he had a fair shake in Atlanta because he didn't really have a quarterback. And I think you have two guys that need to make it work, that have made it work before in different situations, that I think have a good chance to make it work in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree with you because you know what? In my mind, Russell Wilson is an average like NFL starting quarterback. I think he's good enough to be a starting quarterback, and I think at the moment right now, his value is too low. Like if
Yeah.
you could take a mid to late second and get yourself a starting quarterback, of course, why not? Why not get both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields if you need a quarterback? You could probably, turn maybe like the 112 into two quarterbacks and for this season you're secure there and then maybe next season you have two starting quarterbacks if you're lucky. So, it's an option.
Absolutely. Who was your next guy to buy?
Okay, my next guy to buy, I believe, is another controversial pick, I believe, at the quarterback position, Will Levis.
Hmm.
Oh, a lot of people really do not like Will Levis. And I'm not sure why that is, but I feel like last year, when he came in for Tannehill, like there was an upgrade there. I know, like it's not saying a lot because Tannehill is not an elite quarterback by any means, but like I thought Will Levis looked okay. Like he's a gamer, He when it's 3rd and 8, he's capable of running 9 yards to get that first down. He puts his body on the line. I kind of like the moxie he has. He can zip in some throws, and you know what? They didn't really give him a fair shake last year. Okay, he had DeAndre Hopkins, and that's it. Like a 32-year-old receiver, and that's it. That's it. Okay, the worst offensive line in football. Now they've given him an excellent wide receiver too. Calvin Ridley is probably not a wide receiver one, but he's an amazing wide receiver too.
Yeah.
So they're set up now, okay, with a couple great weapons, and they've improved their O line as well. And they're probably going to get a tackle in the draft as well. I'd imagine they're going to get the best tackle in the draft. So Will Levis has a fair shake this year. So I expect him to improve. And because of his draft capital, early second round, his youth, his value has the potential to skyrocket. So right now, you can get him for like the 203, maybe something like that. He's probably like maybe similar to like Knicks in the Knicks Penix range.
I was
And
just
I
going
think
to
if you,
ask,
yeah,
would you rather have Levis or would you rather have the 4 to 6 quarterbacks, McCarthy, Penix, and Nix?
yeah, great question. I think probably I'd rather have McCarthy over him because of the likelihood that McCarthy's going early and possibly even to the Vikings.
Yeah.
But I think with being a little bit unsure of where Knicks and Penix could land, they could land, round 2, round 3, who knows, right? I'm going to take Levis and knowing that he's, securely as the QB in Tennessee with he's set up nicely to succeed this year. So yeah, I think Will Levis is a good buy at the value he's at right now.
Okay. I like Levis. I didn't know his value was so low, but if that's the
Yeah.
case, yeah, I have no problems with buying on Levis. Let's take a look at my next guy to buy. This one might be controversial yeah, no controversy here. I meant I'm buying on Derrick Henry. I think
No
this is a
controversy.
guy. Yeah, everyone wants to buy him. I think the landing spot in free agency. Okay, I own Derrick Henry in every league that I'm in, and the one place that I wanted him to go was Baltimore. I think Baltimore always has a spy on Lamar Jackson because of the option for him to run. So it reminds me of the old Seattle Seahawks when they had beast mode and Russell Wilson, and they had the read option where Marshawn Lynch had one less guy to run through because they had to have somebody spy on Russell Wilson, possibly taking the ball the other way. So if you're doing that with someone like Derrick Henry, who's even faster than beast mode, I think his opportunity to hit home runs is going to happen, even if Lamar Jackson is taking some runs away every now and then. Based on the keeper, I think Henry is going to get perhaps an all-time high in terms of yard per carry.
Yeah, well, Baltimore seems to always lead the league in yards per carry without having an elite running back. Now they
Yeah.
have an elite running back. And if you look at like Derrick Henry's fantasy production, he always has over 20 fantasy points when his team wins because he gets those third and fourth quarter carries playing from ahead, and they just run the ball downhill. And that's exactly what Baltimore wants to do. Like I could see, Derrick Henry getting the amount of carries that he got with the Titans, with
Yeah.
Baltimore, with a team that's always playing with the lead. Okay. This is such a great landing spot. And you know what? His value is still low because of his age. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you if
exactly.
you can if you can go out and get him, get him. Yeah.
Yeah, and like in Philadelphia, goal line carries, he might be losing them to Hurts, but goal line carries on the one, I think you're giving that to
Oh,
Henry instead of giving it to Lamar. So I think he's gonna get his touchdowns as well.
you confused me there because you
Yeah,
brought up Philadelphia.
yeah. Let's take a look at your next guy to buy.
Okay, my next guy to buy is probably in like a similar basket to Henry, and that's Mixon, Joe Mixon. Okay. So you'll like kind of notice something with me. I seem to follow the money. Okay. Because a lot of NFL franchises will tell you a certain guy is going to be great, and there's the coach speak aspect that people buy into. Like I remember last year, Mahomes came out and said, Kadarius Toney could be a wide receiver one, the wide receiver one in Kansas City, like this, and his value at that time went up. People bought into that coach speak, that player speak, but you know what? The franchises never lie with the money they spend. The money they spend will tell you exactly how they feel. Okay. And Houston gave Joe Mixon the bag. Okay. He got a huge contract. They plan on feeding him the rock. They're not going to replace him in the draft. It is what it is. He's there for the next 2 to 3 years with a great offense, a great young quarterback, and he's going to get a ton of opportunities to like produce. So if you need a running back in your contending, this is a guy that you can start in your running back one or running back two slot every week without question. You don't have to think about it. And you know what? His cost right now is cheap. It's cheap. You could get Joe Mixon for like, a Tajay Spears for an early second, even according to Keep Trade Cut. Go out and get him.
Yeah, no, Mixon, money in the bank. He's always been good, and no reason for him to get any worse for the upcoming season. My next guy, once again, his price, I think, is already going up. So it's just a matter of whether you can get him at the right price, is Marquise Brown. Of course, he's moved over to the Chiefs now, and he's obviously the most talented wide receiver that Patrick Mahomes is going to be trading to. The question is, can you get him from the new owner that has received this awesome benefit? So if you can get him at the right price, I mean, hey, I would give up a mid to late first for him personally. I think he is going to be the clear go-to guy, basically their next Tyreek Hill, and he's talented enough to be so. It's just a matter of how much you're going to be paying to get him.
Okay, so I think this is the first time that you and I will disagree here.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no chance I'm giving up a mid to late first for him. He signed because, as I said before, I follow the money, and he signed a 1 year deal for $7 million. So that's not a big team investment. So you're right. He landed in a fantastic spot, and he's still young, and he's a good player. So I think he is a good buy, but I'm hesitant to give up a really really good young prospect for what could end up being just a 1 year stint in Kansas City. So if you are buying him, be aware that this could just be a one and done year with the Chiefs, and his value could drop next year. So just be aware of that if you're buying.
Yeah. Okay. I think we both have valid points on that. You decide on which one you see as more important. Vaz, what's your next buy?
Oh, okay. My next buy is Zach Charbonnet. Um, and I remember you telling me that you thought you didn't like this one, but I'll tell you why I like Zach Charbonnet here. Okay. Right now, his value is around a mid to late second, which I find surprising because he had the draft capital last year of a mid-second round pick. I know he's stuck behind an elite running back, but at the same time, I see guys above him that are not as talented as him, not as young as him, and don't have the team investment he has. So if I can take Tajay Spears, who is more valuable than him on Keep Trade Cut right now, and turn it into Zach Charbonnet, I'm going to do that. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Tajay Spears is in a similar situation, stuck behind another running back. Okay, just like
Who
Zach
is older
Charbonnet.
than Walker, though?
Yeah, I know, but they just bought Pollard. They just spent big on Pollard, so he's there for a while. just as long as Walker is.
Sure.
Okay. And but another thing is when Tajay came out, they said that he had some ACL and MCL problems with his knees, right? So they were saying that he's a one contract guy. So it's not the same as Zach Charbonnet. Eventually, he will step out of Kenneth Walker's shadow in a couple of years and probably will take over RB1 duties at the very latest. So I like buying the talent at this stage when his value is low.
I agree that Charbonnet's a talented running back. I'm a Seahawks fan, and I've watched a lot of his games, if not all of them. And yeah, I do believe that he is good. By all means, his catching ability, great as well. My only issue,
Yeah.
of course, is because he's behind Walker. And I think Walker is just that much better, and he's young. And so it just becomes the question of, is he going to be stuck behind him for a long period of time? It's the question that you've got to ask yourself. Are you okay with it? Do you think you'll get out of it? I think Walker is just going to be their bell cow for a while, and Charbonnet's, a luxury that Seattle has rather than something that they're going to move on from Walker for. But that's the debate.
Listen, Jason, I totally agree. Kenneth Walker is awesome. I love Kenneth Walker. He's a great player. Okay. And he's better than Zach Charbonnet. But I like buying backup running backs that are capable of becoming the bell cow if there's an injury to the starter as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if you are a contender, because he's cheap right now. You can buy him. And then if you're lucky, he's a league winner if Walker goes down. And then if not, you have a young, talented running back that one day could step out of his shadow. Okay. He's only on a 4-year contract. Both of them are. So, a couple years down the road, he could be a running back one somewhere, if not Seattle.
Okay. I don't disagree with the projection. And once again, yeah, if there is an injury, definitely can be a league winner. My next buy guy is perhaps controversial. It is going to be Sam Darnold. He's got a job in Minnesota. He might have a rookie or someone else joining him, but for the time being, he is the QB1 in Minnesota. He's obviously got the best wide receiver, one of the best tight ends in the league to throw to. And I think for him, the one thing that puts him on the buy side for me is that 1 year that he spent in San Francisco with Shanahan, because I think you can learn from what makes a guy like Brock Purdy great. You can learn from Shanahan, who's created other good quarterbacks into what they've become. So I am buying on the potential that Darnold had coming out of the draft, that, I'm buying him cheap because he's been so poor for the last few years, or every year you could argue. But I'm saying he's once again got one more chance, and he's been given an opportunity for that one more chance. He's either going to sink or swim. And I think the price is low enough that I'm willing to buy on the swim.
What are you willing to pay for him?
I would give up a early third, maybe a late second.
Okay. I like the price. If you can get him for an early third, I'm on board. There might be a better time to sell as well later. Like if he
wins the job.
If he wins the job, if he starts week 1 as a starter, you could probably sell at that point for an early second.
Yeah.
So like that down the road. So yeah, I like it. If you can get it for an early third, I'm on board, I think.
All right. Who's your next buy guy?
Okay, my last number 5 is Michael Mayer from the Las Vegas Raiders. I really like his talent, and again here I'm chasing capital, draft capital. I'm chasing what I think is a talented player. Okay, I think he didn't have the production year 1, but I saw flashes, so I do like him, and I think his price is reasonably low right now, where you could go out and get him. I know a lot of people do also like him, so he will be a bit tougher to get, I think, but I think if you can if you have a needed tight end, he's the kind of guy that could jump up to the elite tier. He's got the potential to be like a player, like a dynasty asset that you can count on for like the next 10 years, basically, is what I'm saying. A foundational asset for your team. He could have like a Trey McBride type rise. I see that potential. So I think if you can get him at his value right now, maybe an early second round pick, especially if you play in a tight end premium league, I would take the chance and go and get him. Yeah, I think he was supposed to be that elite prospect last year, more so than Kincaid or Laporta. And I saw the talent in flashes. So I would take this opportunity to buy low if you can.
Yeah, certainly when you get prospects where everyone knows that prospect from the year before their draft year. I think, Meyer was in that prospect pedigree chat from the season before his draft year. So we know that he's talented. And we
Yeah.
also know that tight ends take longer to develop in a lot of cases. So,
Yeah.
yeah, certainly he could be available for an outbreak. I love that one. And my last player to look at for an outbreak that I'm buying is Terry McLaurin. And obviously, we're talking about a guy that's already a very established player that's been a very successful player. The reason I like him here is I just think Washington is going to be a bad team. Their defense is going to be bad. And whoever their quarterback is going to be, perhaps one of the top rookies, is going to be throwing an awful lot in the fourth quarter. And in terms of garbage minutes, garbage yards, I think McLaurin is going to get a lot of those in the fourth quarter. I think the perception of his value is going down because of the situation and his quarterback being unknown as of now. But I think eventually when the season gets underway and we see that, he's still the main target of what's going on, I think you're still going to get good value out of him, despite the perception being low on him.
I like that one. A lot of those wide receiver types that are coming around to like age 27, age 28, a lot of people want to sell at that time. So you can often get them relatively cheap. And he's a great talent. If
Yeah.
you could take a second round pick and turn into Terry McLaurin, I'm fully on board.
Those are 10 guys that we are buying right now. And obviously, we have reasons for which sometimes we disagree. Most of the time, we agree. You make your decisions based on that. If this video gave you value, like it, subscribe to the channel, and be a part of Fantasy Football Freaks. And also, do join us for our next video when we talk about 10 guys that we are selling.